Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Ethereum, and we're going to be looking at the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation and the idea of potential long reaccumulation. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. The sale on the premium list will end in just a few days, so make sure you guys check that out, lock in the lower rate. If you want access to weekly reports and videos, the Telegram alerts channel, the Telegram chat room, and the risk dashboard. Let's go ahead and jump in. So with Ethereum, we've at length discussed the idea of a summer lull in the market. Generally speaking, when we were over $4,000, I said, hey guys, I don't think this is the run that's going to get us to 10K. Because if history is any indication, 10K would actually be a larger move if we look at the sub-cycle ROI of Ethereum if we break it up into more than one cycle. And when I said that, we were closer, I think, to around $4,000. Now, what's interesting is that since then, the valuation of Ethereum, went up to 4,400. We then came back down to around 1,700. Now we're back up to 3,100. But I say to you, no one is getting out of bed for a $3,100 Ether, right? No one's going to get out of bed for that, especially when we already went to $4,400. So I look at this market and I say, well, I understand why people are excited because of recency bias, because we went to 1,700 and now we're back up to 3,100. But in reference to where we were earlier this year at $4,400, you could still argue that the market remains to some degree in a bit of a lull, okay? Because Ethereum, again, has not made any major moves. Now, something we've discussed at length in the past is that Ethereum tends to make those major moves in Q1 and sometimes it extends into Q2. One of the things I don't look forward to every year is when we head into the summer, knowing that if history is any indication, the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation will bleed, and there's a good chance that Ether USD will bleed. This is just if history is any indication. At some point, I imagine this won't play out. But again, if we look at the market, and while I understand that recency bias might make us want to argue that it's actually doing exceptionally well, we could also say, yeah, well, it was also at prices higher than this before we went into the summer. Okay, in May, we were trading at prices higher than the current prices. We then came back down all the way down to 1,700. Now we went up to around 33, almost 3,400. Now we're back down to $3,100. And I say to you, the 90 days, we've looked at it, we'll make another video on it soon, but if you look at the 90-day ROI on Ethereum, the 90-day ROI on the summer tends to be the worst, okay? We're finally starting to come out of the summer now. Now, what does that mean? It averages around 1. Well, remember, it means if you buy in June and then you go out 90 days, so July, August, and September, selling in September historically has not been that much of a move, okay? Now, if you look at June, the valuation of Ethereum in June at some point was as high as 2,700, and then at other points, it was as low as 1,700. If we were to take an average, we could maybe say that the valuation was around 2,400. I don't have it exactly off the top of my head, but around $2,400. So if by September, we are looking at an Ethereum valuation that's around $2,500 or $3,000, it still isn't very different from an ROI of 1, which is what we said expected it to be around. If it's 1.5 or 0.75, it doesn't really matter. None of us are getting out of bed for that, okay? And I say this, and remind you how much the valuation of Ethereum moved earlier. If you look at January, remember, a lot of people forget Ethereum started January. Sorry, there's like a bug on my cord. Anyways, Ethereum started January at around $700 or so, right? Around $700. I mean, I have to switch this over to the daily time frame for us to actually see it. But if we go back to January of 2021, we started at around $700. And then by the end of January, we were already trading for close to around $1,400. So we saw a 2x. Right? We saw a 2x. And then in February, we were more or less in reaccumulation range. I called this, if you remember, we called this the overvaluation reaccumulation phase of a lifetime. The reason I called it that was because I no longer contended that we were at the accumulation phase of a lifetime. That came much earlier on, back over here, back in earlier in 2020. We said that, and I don't know how many people followed me back then, probably not very many, but we said this is the accumulation phase of a lifetime, this is the reaccumulation phase of a lifetime, this is the overvaluation reaccumulation phase of a lifetime. And this is the move we were waiting for. And why were we waiting for that move? Well, we already knew that Bitcoin had put in these crazy new numbers, and crazy new all-time highs. And we also know that Ethereum tends to make a nice final move against Bitcoin. In a couple weeks, it goes up approximately 2x, right? And we went from a very modest $2,200 up to around $4,400 in a couple of weeks, which we've seen those types of moves in the past. And I look at this and I say, well, guys, there is a decent chance that we are at a phase like this or like this. Is it not, right? Seems like a reasonable possibility. Seems like this could happen, one of these possibilities where we go up into a new normal, a paradigm shift in the market. We put in an all-time high, we come back down to around the 20-week moving average, we bounce off of it, and then maybe we settle down for a bit. This one ended up going lower before moving higher, and this one just went sideways into the 20-week and then went higher. So far, in this move, we came up, we came down to the 20-week, we went a little bit below it, now we're back above it. And I'm just sitting here like, you know what, if we go up now and Ethereum's trending to $10,000 by the end of the year, then so be it, right? Let it happen, bring it on. We have our Ethereum stacks and we're ready to see that happen. But I would also say there's a decent chance that we continue range bound for a while. Remember, a lot of people look at this chart and say, this is a very quick move in the market. Now, if you lived through it, you will remember that the reaccumulation range or reaccumulation phase occurred over approximately 1 year. And then here it occurred over approximately half a year. So far, if we wanted to say that this above, say, around $2,000 or so is when it started, we've already been in this range for about half a year. So I see a lot of people saying, hey guys, the entire cycle is going to end next month or in 2 months. And I'm just sitting here looking at the market thinking, well, I mean, a lot of coins are still below their prior all-time highs. Not all of them. And there's some that we follow that are not below their prior all-time highs. But Ethereum is, and Bitcoin is. And people are already calling for a market cycle top next month. And I'm just looking at the market like, I mean, does everyone forget how we've had these long sideways movements in the market where we came up, we put in a new all-time high after a crazy rally? And if we wanted to compare these, we could. Let's take a bar pattern from that bottom to this move here. Okay, how long did it take? Well, if we put it there, you can see that we came up and then we just went sideways for a while. If we were to shift this over to say something like maybe that, we could still have a little while before getting into the next move. And maybe the next move doesn't happen until January, for all we know. A lot of this will be contingent on if Bitcoin has the strength to hold the 20-week. My argument with Bitcoin is I think it's either going to hold the 20-week now or in another 3 months from hopefully when it falls below it. That's what I would argue with Bitcoin. And I look at this and say, hey guys, we could just be at one of these phases. Maybe it's this phase here where we're gonna trend somewhat sideways, plus or minus $1,000 or so for a few more months. Or if you want to shift this over even more and put it here, this could be a move that takes us to a new all-time high, and then we come back down, and then we actually go on another major run later on. But that's why I just look at this and say, hey, there's plenty of reasons to think that there could be several more months of range-bound accumulation before making another move. And again, historically, the major moves by the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation happen in Q1. And this is not a popular thing to say right now. And if it turns out that Ethereum makes a major move against Bitcoin sooner, then great, right? I mean, this is just what we're showing with prior data. We can see that in Q4 of 2015, Ethereum Bitcoin valuation went down. In Q4 of 2016, Ethereum Bitcoin valuation went down. In Q4 of 2017, Ethereum Bitcoin valuation went down. Again, in Q4 of 2018, Ethereum Bitcoin valuation went down. 2019, what do you think? It went down. 2021, the valuation of Ethereum Bitcoin in 2021 in Q4, you said it, it went down. When did the major move come? When did that come against Bitcoin? It came in Q1. Look at this. This is January. You see the move, right? This is the move, the January move right here. If we take a measured move, this move here was a very modest 1,800%. This one that lasted into March was 600% or so, and if you extend it all the way into June, it was about another 1,800%. This one here was around 300 or 400%. This one here was around 70%. This one over here was around 65%. And this one here was around 110%. And so what if we have to wait a few more months? Is that big of a deal? I don't think so. I mean, there still is September, which is not part of Q4, so maybe we'll see a move by Ethereum in September against Bitcoin. But what I'm sort of waiting for in terms of getting super excited about the Ethereum valuation against the US dollar and against Bitcoin is maybe just a few more months of sideways movement. And that could be anywhere between around $1,700 up to $4,400. Okay, these reaccumulation ranges can be quite large. Again, even last cycle, we saw those drops that exceeded 60 or 70%. And we look back at it and say, well, I mean, it was just more or less in a reaccumulation phase. So if you look at this one and we go down and say, all right, well, we had another 60% drop. Is that normal? Yes, this is what we've seen many times before. So again, going into the summer, I always warn people, hey guys, we normally get a summer lull. And back when Ethereum was at $4,000, I never imagined that someone would use the $3,100 Ethereum to claim that it's not a lull in the market. But it does go to show how recency bias can really affect our view of the market. So what I would say is Ethereum still has a ways to go. We still have a lot of work to do just to get back above $4,400. Is it possible that we get above $4,400 this year? It is. Is it possible that Ethereum goes to 10K this year? I would say probably not. Certainly 2022 though is a strong possibility, because even if we don't have lengthening cycles, I believe we will have lengthening cycles. But even if we don't have lengthening cycles and Bitcoin puts in a major market cycle peak at the end of the year, then normally Ethereum's move comes after that. Okay, so I would say a 10K Ethereum is likely not going to happen in 2021, but I do believe there's a high probability that we will get around $10,000 this market cycle, which I do believe will extend past 2021. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember, we do have the sale on the premium list. If you guys want to know how I'm navigating these markets, check that out. You can find a link to that in the description below as well. That's going to end in just a few days. So lock in the lower rate. You can keep the lower rate as long as you do not cancel. Subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon to turn on your notifications, and I will see you next time. Bye.